In 2024, a Fortune 500 company had perfect security, MFA, conditional access, endpoint protection, yet attackers walked right in. How? They didn't hack anything. They just used a stolen password from a LinkedIn breach. This is credential theft, and it's the #1 way attackers break in today. What is credential theft? Your organization has strong passwords, regular training, and maybe even MFA. Yet every week, another breach makes headlines where millions of usernames and passwords leak online. How does this keep happening? Credential theft is exactly what it sounds like. Attackers stealing usernames and passwords, often without ever cracking or guessing them. They use a variety of techniques: phishing, keyloggers, tools like Mimikatz, and credential stuffing. And once they have valid credentials, they can log in as a legitimate user, bypass many security controls, and move laterally through your environment. In this video, we'll cover the most common credential theft techniques attackers use today, what Microsoft Entra ID can and cannot do to protect them, and how identity threat detection and response, ITDR, helps detect compromised credentials and stop the attack in real time. Let's start with the most well-known technique, phishing. Phishing and Adversary are in the middle. Phishing is the #1 delivery method for credential theft. An attacker sends an email that looks like it's from IT support, your HR department, or a trusted partner. The email contains a link to a fake login page that mimics your company's legitimate sign-in portal. When a user clicks the link and types their username and password, those credentials are sent directly to the attacker. Simple phishing pages have been around for years, but modern attackers have evolved. They now use adversary-in-the-middle frameworks like Evilginx. Instead of just capturing credentials, Evilginx acts as a reverse proxy. The user sees the real Microsoft login page, enters their password, and even completes MFA, all while the proxy silently steals the session token and the plaintext credentials. Phishing can also target MFA codes directly. Attackers create fake push notifications or SMS prompts, tricking users into approving sign-ins they never initiated. Even hardware keys can be bypassed if the user is tricked into interacting with a malicious prompt on a compromised device. So what can you do? Phishing-resistant MFA, like FIDO2 security keys or certificate-based authentication, significantly reduces this risk. User awareness training also helps, but it's not enough, because phishing attacks are getting more convincing every day. Now let's move from social engineering to malware. Keyloggers and InfoStealers. Keyloggers are a type of malware that records every keystroke a user makes. That includes usernames, passwords, and even the codes typed in from an authenticator app. Keyloggers can be delivered via email attachments, malicious downloads, or drive-by exploits. Modern keyloggers are often part of larger InfoStealer families like Redline, VDAR, or Raccoon. These steal not only keystrokes, but also save password from browsers, cookies, autofill data, and even cryptocurrency wallets. They package everything into a log file and send it back to the attacker. Once an attacker has this data, they can log into your email, your corporate VPN, or any SaaS application where you reuse a password. InfoStealers are especially dangerous because they operate silently in the background. Users rarely notice anything unusual. Defending against keyloggers and InfoStealers requires endpoint protection. Microsoft Defender for Endpoint, combined with Intune device enrollment, can block known malware families and detect suspicious behavior like unauthorized data exfiltration. Keeping browsers and operating systems patched is also critical. But there's another tool that security professionals and attackers both use: Mimikatz. Mimikatz, extracting passwords from memory. Mimikatz is a powerful open-source tool created by Benjamin Delpy. It's used by penetration testers and by attackers to extract plaintext passwords, hashes, and Kerberos tickets directly from Windows memory. Here's how it works. When a user logs into a Windows machine, their password is often stored in memory in a form that Mimikatz can read, especially if the system has been configured to allow WDigest or other legacy authentication protocols. With a single command, Mimikatz can dump every logged-on user's password in plaintext. Even if passwords are stored as hashes, Mimikatz can perform pass-the-hash attacks, using the hash to authenticate without ever knowing the actual password. It can also extract Kerberos tickets, allowing lateral movement across the network. Mimikatz is not malware by itself. It's a legitimate administration tool. That's what makes it dangerous. Attackers load it into memory using frameworks like Cobalt Strike or PowerShell, so traditional file-based antivirus may not detect it. How do you defend against Mimikatz? First, enable Credential Guard on Windows. It uses virtualization to isolate and protect hashes. Second, restrict administrative privileges and use local admin password solutions. Third, monitor for suspicious process access to SAS, the Local Security Authority Subsystem Service, where Mimikatz pulls credentials. Now let's talk about what attackers do with all these stolen credentials. Credential stuffing and password reuse. Attackers don't just use stolen credentials once. They take lists of usernames and passwords from data breaches, often available on the dark web, and automate login attempts against hundreds of other websites and services. This is called credential stuffing. Why does it work? Because people reuse passwords. According to multiple studies, over 50% of users reuse the same password across multiple accounts. So a password stolen from a low-security forum might also unlock that user's corporate email, VPN, or Salesforce account. Credential stuffing attacks are automated using tools like SentryMBA or OpenBullet. Attackers use proxy lists to rotate IP addresses and avoid rate limiting. They can try millions of username-password pairs in a single day. Even with MFA, credential stuffing can succeed if the user is not enrolled in MFA for every application, or the attacker has also stolen a session token or MFA code via phishing. Microsoft Entra ID offers smart lockout and password hash sync to detect and block brute force attempts. Identity protection can flag leaked credentials by comparing user passwords against known breach databases. But these are reactive. They work after the password is already compromised. Now let's look at what Entra ID does to prevent credential theft in the first place. Entra ID protection capabilities. Microsoft Entra ID includes several important protections against credential theft, and you should enable them all. First, Entra ID password protection. It blocks users from choosing common or breach passwords, and you can add custom banned password lists for your organization. This prevents users from setting passwords like Summer 2024 or Company 123. Second, Smart Lockout. It detects brute force and credential stuffing attacks by locking the account after a number of failed attempts, while still allowing legitimate users to authenticate from trusted locations. Third, Entra ID Identity Protection provides risk-based conditional access. It evaluates sign-in risk. For example, if credentials appear in a breach or if a user logs in from a known malicious IP. High-risk sign-ins can be blocked or forced to re-authenticate with MFA. Fourth, Password hash sync with Entra ID Connect allows Microsoft to detect when a user's password appears in a known breach, triggering a risk alert. These are all excellent preventive controls, but they share a common limitation. They work best when the attack is still at the password stage. Once an attacker has a valid password and MFA has been satisfied, especially through phishing or token theft, Entra ID's native logs show a successful login. That's why you need detection and response after authentication. ITDR, detecting compromised credentials. This is where identity threat detection and response, or ITDR, comes in. ITDR solutions continuously monitor identity signals after login, not just at the authentication step. When an attacker uses stolen credentials to sign in, their behavior often differs from the legitimate user. For example, an unusual location or device not previously seen. Impossible travel, logging in from New York and then London within minutes. Anomalous actions like downloading hundreds of emails or creating inbox forwarding rules. Accessing applications the user never normally uses. ITDR platforms use behavioral analytics and machine learning to detect these anomalies in real time. When a compromised credential is suspected, they can trigger automated responses, force reauthentication, revoke all active tokens, isolate the user account, or block access to sensitive data. Some ITDR solutions also provide a 24/7 security operations center to validate alerts and guide remediation. This is critical because security teams are often overwhelmed with false positives. ITDR cuts through the noise. To be clear, ITDR does not replace Entra ID's native protections. It complements them. You need both prevention and detection. Let's summarize what we covered. Credential theft happens through multiple techniques: phishing, adversary in the middle attacks, Keyloggers, InfoStealers, Mimikatz, and credential stuffing. Attackers steal passwords, hashes, and tokens, then reuse and access your cloud and on-premise environment. Microsoft Entra ID provides valuable prevention: password protection, smart lockout, identity protection risk policies, and password hash sync. But these are proactive controls. They assume you stop the attack before it succeeds. Once an attacker has valid credentials and has bypassed MFA, you need detection and response. ITDR solutions monitor behavior after login, detect anomalies like impossible travel or unusual data access, and automatically revoke sessions or isolate accounts. My recommendation: enable every Entra ID prevention control: password protection, smart lockout, risk policies, and phishing-resistant MFA. Harden your endpoints against Mimikatz by enabling Credential Guard and monitoring OSAS. Evaluate an ITDR platform that provides real-time behavioral monitoring and automated response for compromised credentials. If you found this video helpful, please like and subscribe. In our next video, we'll cover rogue OAuth apps, how attackers use malicious multi-tenant applications to gain persistent access to your Microsoft 365 data, even after you reset your password. Thanks for watching and stay secure.